Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Subriel Matias defeats Alberto Puello by a majority decision to win the WBC Junior Lightweight title. Now after the last fight, Kataev versus David Morrell, had a sour taste in my mouth. Really good fight, ruined by a bad decision. And I felt this was going to be another one. I felt the commentary team in this fight were an utter disgrace. Chris Mannix. You know, sometimes you'll listen to commentary and the official scorer, the unofficial scorer. And sometimes they mindfuck you into believing that you're not watching the fight that you think you're watching kind of thing. In terms of round by round scoring, things of that nature. And to me, this was one of those fights, man. Relatively simple to score. I think the aesthetics of this fight kind of excited the commentators with how strong Puello finished. But it's not about how you finish a fight, it's about how many rounds you win. And for me, Matias did enough to win this fight. Not only did he do enough to win this fight, he was contending in there with a very dirty fighter in Alberto Puello. You know, I've not seen as impressive use of the head in a fight since the likes of Andre Ward and Bernard Hopkins. You know, when he reaches for a clinch, when he dives in for a clinch, he dives in head first like a kamikaze pilot. Just blatant, obvious cheating. You know, as a result, Matias got a cut as well. I believe it was a head clash. You know, Puello's got that boulder head, so if that guy headbutts you, you're gonna feel it. But regardless, first round, Matias came out applying pressure but not throwing a whole lot of punches. Puello was boxing out of that southpaw stance using lateral movement, landing some really good uppercuts, some right hooks around the side, good single shots. Matias had his moments here and there in round one, but round one, clear Puello round. After round one, there was a noticeable uptick in the pressure of Subriel Matias, and he did what he usually does in fights. Relentless pressure behind a high guard, short shots on the inside a la Tony Margarito, just clubbing short shots and a lot of them, body, head, uppercuts through the middle, and rounds 2 to 6, to me, Matias swept those rounds. You know, he just completely outworked Puello as far as I'm concerned. Puello landed really good single punches, like the uppercut in particular was a really good shot from him. His lead uppercut was a really good shot. He jacked the jaw of Matias several times in these rounds. Also, sometimes with his right hook counter as well. But primarily, I felt the work Puello was doing in these rounds were singles. They were moments, whereas Matias was consistent throughout these rounds 2 to 6. Just for pressure, completely outworking Puello as far as I was concerned. And, you know, I felt he swept those rounds, which after 6 you would have, I had Matias 5-1 up. After 6, Matias definitely started to slow down. It was like he couldn't maintain that level of pressure that he did a couple of years ago. And in the second half of this fight, it got a lot more competitive, I would say. Rounds 7 and 8 are going to divide opinion. Matias's output dropped, no doubt about it. And Puello's output remained the same, but he was still landing good single eye-catching shots. But at the same time, the guy was clinching so fucking much, leading with the head. Rounds 7 and 8 were close rounds in my opinion. Do you prefer the aggression of Matias and still the greater output? Or do you prefer the single shots that were clear from Puello, but also with the clinching, which already by round 7-8 was excessive. Puello started clinching in round 4 and really started using the head in round 4. And he did throughout the fight onwards. Rounds 7 and 8, like I said, were close. I would give those rounds to Matias just because he was more aggressive, threw more punches, landed more punches. Yeah, they weren't as clear or clean, but they were punches. And for me, it looked like he still outworked Puello in rounds 7 and rounds 8. So I'm going to give it to the guy. I'm going to give those rounds to the guy who forces the fight, who landed more shots and who wasn't the guy who was trying to stop the fight via illegal tactics, a la clinching. And that's what Puello was starting to do, and was doing it a lot. After round 8, I felt Puello swept it. Still a lot of clinches, but he actually opened up a lot more. Matias at this point in time, output dropped quite drastically, really pushing his punches. Got some flurries here and there, but it was it was nowhere near as effective as it was earlier on. It wasn't as impressive. Really kind of forcing his work the last 4 rounds of this fight. Really forcing his work. And he looked spent basically from rounds 9 onwards. Walking into shots, there was a moment in round 10 or 11 where Puello landed a picture-perfect right uppercut. Looked like it slightly buzzed Matias. Matias did well to recover though. Very tired, fatigued, but he took the shots well. And rounds 9 to 12, for me, Puello was lighting up Subriel Matias, and possibly that's a sign of a fighter who is on the slide. We know his style is very intense. It takes a lot out of him when he, fighting that way, training that way is going to take a lot out of you. He's 33 years old now, and I felt we saw the last 4 rounds. We may be seeing Matias now aging, beginning to, he's past his prime kind of thing. And it was a close fight. If you had it a draw, not going to complain. Even if you had Puello winning 7-5, I don't agree with you, but I think it's a bit far. But for me, if anyone won this fight, it was Matias based on rounds 1. Just because a guy finishes a fight strong, it doesn't mean he's won the fight. And I think a lot of fight fans fall into that kind of trap where a fighter finishes a fight well and that's the last thing they remember. They don't remember the earlier rounds where maybe the other fighter did well, the other fighter won those rounds. They kind of just remember how the fight ended. And Puello, don't get me wrong, he finished this fight really well. And like I said, I felt he won the last 4 rounds. So for me, 7 rounds to 5 is the fairest scorecard. I can see 6 rounds to 6. But I don't think Puello won 7 rounds in that fight. I really don't. If we're looking at round by round, I don't think he won 7 rounds. I really don't. Listen, I'm glad Matias won. I'm glad that type of style, those type of tactics weren't rewarded. And it's a shame because when Puello fought back, he did really well. He had a lot of moments when he put his shots together and got a bit more adventurous. We saw that towards the end. I know Matias was tired, but even throughout the early parts of the fight, when he did open up, he had success, but he just wasn't doing it enough for me early on in the first half of this fight. But yeah, also one more thing, I talk about Puello's tactics. I think the guy should have had a point deducted for holding and use of the head. Personally, he should have had at least 1 point taken. He was given a warning, way late in, round 10 or something. It's, way too late to warn this guy. The guy's been doing it since round 4. But all things considered, I think Matias deserved the win. I'm not saying it because I picked him on points, but I genuinely thought he won this fight. Is what it is. Share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Del Boy. Peace.